Hello and welcome to the Playing Arts Podcast, where we put the spotlight on artists in our community. I'm your host, Andy Needham, and this week my guest is Nicole Ruggiero, who created the Six of Clubs in the Playing Arts Crypto Edition. Nicole is a 3D artist whose work is based on the internet and online trends, and her work blurs the lines between the virtual and real worlds. She creates stills, animations, and interactive AR and VR experiences. I'm really looking forward to learning more about Nicole, so it's my pleasure to welcome her to the show. Hi there. How you doing?
Hello.
And thanks so much for taking the time to be here, Nicole. Really appreciate it. We like to kind of get into the art straight away and learn more about, the background of the artist. So I'd just be really interested to know how you got started in digital art.
Yeah, so I started when I was in middle school. I was just really inspired by a lot of, honestly, like a lot of video games I was playing. And I started, going on like DeviantArt and like Newgrounds and this forum called Guy Online, which had a lot of artists on it and was like kind of like anime based forum. And I just kind of started just copying some of like the better artists as far as like technique and stuff like that, trying to figure out how they were doing what they were doing, and started making little animations in Flash. And I think just really heavily inspired by first and foremost though like video games, and I think that like now I have kind of like returned to that. I think for a while I was kind of like trying to not play video games and stuff like that. And eventually I was like, okay, I initially started doing art because of like video games and anime and manga and, and the internet. And I was like, I need to like go back to these things that inspire me. And I'll talk about more of that when we get talking about my work a bit more too.
For sure. So what kind of video games, were you playing back then? Has that changed now? Are you still playing the same kinds of games?
Yeah. So I was playing a lot of like JRPGs. One of the games that really, really inspired me was Kingdom Hearts. I think, I was like pretty young when I started playing that. And I just like got so into like the art, and then like I got into like Final Fantasy because there's Final Fantasy characters in that. And I just really love the characters so much. And you can see so many characters in my work. And yes. I just really loved the character development and the design and the personalities and the fashion design and all of this type of stuff in the games. And yeah, I don't know. Oh, so what am I playing now? Answering that. I am still, I do play JRPGs. I have to admit, I never really finish any of them. I just I get really into it. I watch all the cutscenes and then I look it up on YouTube kind of thing. Even when I was a kid, I liked it. I think I finished Kingdom Hearts, but I didn't really finish like any other ones. Yeah, just, that was always like really inspiring to me. And I think just anything with like a good narrative, I find really inspiring. Something that you can just immerse yourself in and just kind of like be taken to like a whole different world, or like this goes back to my art as well, this kind of like surreal thing, like surreal environment, surreal reality that takes pieces from, your actual reality, but so you can kind of like identify with yourself, but then it brings you like a step further into like something like creative and imaginative.
Yeah, this is all starting to make sense then to, you know, how your style has kind of developed and formed itself. Looking forward to digging into that because it's immersive, it has characters, it's that's really cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, when I was doing, you know, I used to love computer games, video games when I was younger, and like wanted to design them. And I just love looking at all the manuals and stuff like that, the key art. That was kind of like, I, you know, enjoyed that as much as kind of playing the game and getting into them. But so the JRPG, is that like a Japanese RPG? Is that what that stands for? Or, yeah, role playing. All right, okay. So, and Japan has kind of influenced you a lot as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely starts with like the video game culture for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think from there, just like looking further into, so I didn't really talk about like how the internet plays into all of this, but essentially, for me growing up, I like primarily socialized like online. I had a pretty rough childhood, so it was easier for me to find people who I could really relate to or talk to like online, and started just like finding friend groups online and stuff like that. And I'm still like that to this day. Most of my friends live all over the place, and I've met them through the internet. And yeah, I think it's such a really great resource for people, because like what you have like immediately around you, you might not always like identify like really strongly with. For a while, like I moved from New York and I moved to Florida. When I was in Florida, it was like definitely like really, really difficult for me to find people to relate to, especially because Florida, I mean, is just so much different culturally from New York. I moved to North Florida, and yeah, and you know, even in middle school, I remember like making a couple friends like from the other school, you know, online or whatever, like starting talking to them on AIM and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, so that really like plays into kind of how I started to form my own, you know, social groups and relate with other people. And I think most of my friends also similarly make a lot of their friends online as well.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and you were saying about the internet kind of like thematically plays a strong role in your work. Your work's got this real kind of surreal feel to it. And like, what's influenced that, like, overall kind of thing? You know, how has it all developed over time? How have you got to this point?
Sorry, loud cars outside.
Oh, I can't hear them. It's all good.
Okay, good. How did I develop the surreal kind of style? Like I said, I think a lot of it really did come from like video games, and just really.
I might show some of your Instagram as well while we're talking, because you know, you've got you've posted a lot. You have a huge following here. There's you know, a large number of posts that people can come and just cycle through here just to kind of see how, you know, how you are, how it looks and how it's developed and stuff as well. So yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but if there's anything in particular that you wanted me to land on, then I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I guess maybe go to like the more recent stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I think like, God, I'm gonna go back to like my first references of like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. I think being able to really like look at like this character development and look at like these emotional stories that I really, could connect to as someone that was playing a video game, I've been playing video games since I was like a little kid, since I could pick up a controller kind of thing. I think, I was really impacted by this idea of being able to emotionally connect with these characters, but them still be, from like this, like, these like otherworldly kind of beings, but still very relatable. Like that's something that was really important for me when I started, I started drawing people and characters when I was younger. And I think that's something that always stuck. And I think that's something that is very, relevant to being someone who uses the internet as well. Because, I think for a while, when Facebook was very popular, we really did have to start identifying with, our own, self-image and like portraying our lives online, fairly accurately. However, before that, and even now, I think before that, it didn't really exist. It was very hard to portray yourself online in that way. People are very uncomfortable with doing that. And then with the rise of like Facebook, first MySpace, then more so definitely Facebook, who's making you verify your identification with your driver's license. We kind of see people starting to be forced to show who they actually are. And now, especially with the rise of crypto and Twitter, we're seeing people reject that and go back to, this is the internet. I'm not going to like pretend to be someone else per se. I'm not going to catfish people. However, I want to have more control over my identity. I want to be able to show people that, I look this way. However, like I also like all this other stuff in a creative and imaginative way that's not necessarily like weird or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you were talking about like how you represent yourself online and how, when you're scrolling through crypto Twitter and stuff, you're seeing a lot of PFPs and things like that. And I'm just looking, I mean, we've, you're using one of your pieces. I'm going to try and find it on Instagram. Let's just see. I mean, we used this in the bottom right corner for the podcast episode, but I think I saw it here. It's kind of this piece that is your kind of how you're representing yourself or how you're currently representing yourself on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, where this isn't like a recent piece. So, why this?
So I made that last year during, kind of like, the beginning of the NFT hype. And, I decided not to sell it, because I made it like literally in the middle of working on all this other stuff. And it was just something I felt very strongly about, something that I identified with for myself. And, and so like I was going back and I was actually talking to this collector, who collects, a lot of anime stuff. And he was like, I really like this piece. And I was like, yeah, I haven't minted that. He was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to mint it right now anyway. And I was just thinking like, why do I feel that way? And I was like, well, I really identify with this. It was something that I made when I was feeling very emotional. And, something that it just feels like how I feel a lot of the time. And I know it's kind of sad, but like, it's also very beautiful. And that's kind of like my state a lot of the time. Like, not that I put my sadness onto other people, but like, that's just kind of my vibe. Like, and, I don't know. That's why I decided to use that for the time being, at least.
Yeah. I would, it's great to have something that's just personal and, means so much to you as well. So that's there's a kind of depth to that, which I appreciate. So, I wanted to ask before we get into, some more of your art and stuff, like you're obviously a professional 3D artist, and have there been any defining projects that have kind of shaped your style, or also, I feel like when I've seen your work, it's kind of like you've kind of remained true always. So like, how's that? How have you managed to do that?
So what do you mean, like remain true? Like just kind of like,
it's like it's kind of like I don't have it because we're not sharing your old website, but there was some work you did for Adult Swim and some other things like that, and it's kind of all feels kind of like kind of current surreal kind of stuff to what you've you're putting out there now. So
I don't know that I like necessarily am doing it on purpose. It just kind of happens. For me, I really value being genuine. I think that's been something that's been very important to me throughout my life. And so I think I just am like that as a person, and I really don't have like a poker face. I'm very bad at like concealing my emotions because I just really don't do that. And so like I think you'll see so much of that come through in like all of my work. And the whole surreal thing is just again very ingrained in me as far as just like coming up with ideas and concept and just like in the formation of my own style. It has always been really a huge part of it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to just sort of move on to your process now, and just if you could describe, your typical process for creating a piece of art, that would be fantastic to hear.
Yeah. So typically I start with a sketch and just I really like to make things a bit more slowly usually, because I am the type of person that likes to go back and change things. And like sometimes like I'm feeling one way on a certain day and I'll go back and look at it and be like, oh, I want to add this, or I want to change this or whatever. I'm kind of like grateful for how like NFTs have changed kind of how often artists are expected to release work, because I think with social media before, I always felt this pressure to keep making like very quickly, and that is not really how I make work. It's very difficult for me to do that, and I think I think that definitely affected my like Instagram following, because I just I wasn't really able to keep making work as quickly as other people, because again, my process is like I like to like kind of like come up with an idea, go back to it, think about it more, change it, go back to it, and that really doesn't work for like your Instagram everydays. So no. No, it really doesn't. So I'm really grateful for, NFTs, because I think a lot of collectors are very patient and they understand that artists need time to make work. And Twitter is great as well, because I don't always need to be posting a finished piece. I could say something, I could post some process, I can talk about what I'm doing. It's a lot easier to stay engaged, whereas with Instagram, it became very difficult for me, especially when the algorithm started like really favoring people who were posting every single day.
No, I can relate to that, and I think there's a couple of advantages to what you're saying. Is when you get to you're posting maybe a bit of work in progress, and people that are following you and have an interest in your work can get to see the development of it, and also the amount of time that you put into a piece as well. And that speaks volumes to, I think if for a collector who's like looking to see something it's not just been thrown up in a day, it's not some throwaway piece. This is something that's actually been crafted, and really means a lot to you, because you've put the time in, to polish it and get it to a standard that you're happy to kind of release it and put it out on the blockchain forever. So yeah, that's awesome, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, that's a huge part of my process, and just your typical 3D stuff. I don't know if people are interested in me talking about the programs that I use, but I can if that's like a normal thing.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, it is a normal thing. I mean, you're there's certain tools to digital art. I mean, I'm interested in the kind of sculpting side and VR side or AR side or whatever, VR probably, but of the creation process. For me, like I know you're using like Cinema 4D as well and things like that. And but what are you doing to there's stages before putting it into Cinema 4D. So what are those stages? After sketching, you're kind of moving into something else.
Yeah, so it really depends on the project. Like I really am not someone who uses the same tools all the time. I'm more of someone that, like, again, really big on concept. I put the concept first, and I'm like, okay, I need to learn this program. I need to do this thing, So I'll learn how to do that stuff so that I can make it in the way that I want it to be portrayed. And I usually very much value like the way it's being displayed. Like, so I'll do a VR thing for something that I think makes sense to be seen in VR conceptually, So, but yeah, I mean, I use so many different programs. If it's, for instance, like for the card I did, I threw on my mocap suit and I did an animation recording of myself, and then I had to throw that in Maya, and I had to clean it up, and I had to throw that in Cinema and texture it, and go through that whole process. Before that, I had to make the character in Daz and bring that into Maya. So I have all these like pieces moving around. So, and then for VR, it can be an entirely different process where I'm like modeling in Cinema, modeling in ZBrush, texturing in Substance, or Unreal sometimes, bringing that stuff into Unreal, testing that out, sometimes having to like redo things because of like polygon limits, bringing that into Maya using Quad Draw, like I really am just doing so many different things.
Wow.
And I really, for me, like my process, I love learning new stuff too. If I see something that I'm like, I want to use that in my work because this adds this type of vibe, and I want to be able to like utilize that, I will just learn it. I'm not someone who sticks to the same thing over and over and over. Recently, I've been really enjoying doing VR sculpting in Adobe Medium. So what I've been doing is I'll block out my sculpts in Adobe Medium, and then I'll throw them into ZBrush and like refine them, and then, continue that process. But that's been something that's been absolutely amazing lately. And I've started, making some more kind of like playful characters. Like I'm a big fan of Pokemon. I don't know if you guys can see up there. I have a lot of Pokemon stuff. I know my video is a little like weird, but and that I've loved Pokemon ever since I was like such like a little kid, like 7 years old or whatever, going back to the video games and the anime. And it's like that has inspired me too to make my own like little characters, and I think for me right now, something that's been very valuable is being able to like draw something out and be like, okay, I'm gonna make that into 3D. Or I think like before, it was a little bit more of like, okay, this is what I can do in 3D. Like I'm gonna like use what I know, because of course you can't learn everything overnight, and make something out of that. And lately, I just feel like, as I'm continuing in this field, learning things every day, I'm just gaining more and more control So I'm doing that now. In a few months, I want to start doing some more live action stuff with mocap in Unreal. Really excited for that. That's going to be a whole nother like learning foray. But yeah, I mean,
that's amazing. Actually, that really is exciting, because you would probably design the character and then become the character and then act out the whatever the character is doing and have it in some environment in Unreal, and it's just opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited to start getting into that live action process.
Yeah, awesome. With so many parts to the process, is there one particular part where you're like, yes, now I'm at this stage, and
yeah, I like the beginning. I like sculpting and blocking things out and like just being free form. I like sketching. Sketching's a little stressful because it's like really having to like nail down the concept. And then I really like texturing too. I love texturing a lot and seeing the piece come together. So I guess kind of like the beginning and the end are great. The middle is usually pretty stressful.
Do you I don't know if you have an iPad or anything like that, but have you seen this workflow of using kind of moving from sculpting into Procreate to kind of do texturing that way? And that's kind of interesting to me as well. I'm looking into that.
Yeah, I haven't done it myself, but it seems pretty cool. I really love the idea of being able to rely less on, like a large machine to be able to do a lot of this work. That's why I've been really into like sculpting on the Oculus. It's like just sitting down in general all day is painful like for your body. It's not healthy. It's not natural to have to do that for so long. So anything that gets me out of this desk, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, these. So with the VR sculpting, it's kind of like a workout almost, I guess, because you are in the sculpt, aren't you? I guess
I would not call it a workout.
No, right, okay. It's not like you're doing exercise doing it, but it's just not sitting.
More the range
in
of
front
motion.
Of the
the range of motion's larger. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get that completely. And yeah, I like the idea of taking things kind of mobile, especially when, the chips inside these things are getting so powerful. And if you can start doing more kind of what you would expect to be doing on a desktop, anywhere, like, then that's pretty cool. But
yeah.
Okay, well, it kind of just frees you up, I guess, to work in different environments and find inspiration in different areas, because staring at the same walls is probably less inspiring as the days go on. But I don't know. So I mean, this is your creative space, and like I can see you kind of populate it with some books and other things as well. Is there anything else that kind of really helped you get that creative juice going?
Yeah, like I said, like just like games, anime, like I find that stuff like really inspiring. I really do not like looking at other people's 3D art.
Okay.
Like I like I know that video games usually are typically in 3D, and I don't associate that as much with like an individual who's a 3D artist. Because I feel like when I start looking at other artists, I start comparing myself. And I think that it really limits inspiration as well, because I don't like the idea of like copying anyone or anything like that. And I just like, I don't, it's not good for me to do. I don't really enjoy it. So I like doing that. I also, like collecting. I collect Pokemon cards, and I have a very small video game collection. And collecting images, anything that I find inspiring online, you know, again, usually not other people's work, very rarely. Maybe some like parallel fields like fashion or something like that. But I don't, I very much try to avoid looking at other people's work for inspiration. I look at it to support my friends, but, you know,
Sure.
yeah, and I think that allows me to just come up with more unique ideas, really, and reach inside of myself for my experiences and my, you know, things that make me excited, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you're, you know, you're not obviously not looking at other 3D artists' work for inspiration, but are there any other artists, you know, traditional artists or, you know, from years ago, whatever, that inspire you, you know, is there anything like that? Because there's a whole, you know, surrealist movement out there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if there's anything from that, you know, genre that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the energy behind like the people inspire me, you know? I think like people's stories, like other artists' stories, inspire me. Again, it goes back to that whole like character building thing.
Okay.
As far as like I don't know, I was talking about like Dolly the other day. I think like, you know, like the first thing I think of when I think of Dolly, for instance, is I think of him like throwing those cats in water and taking pictures of them. I don't think of his paintings first. I think of that image of him and his mustache, and I think of that energy, you know, and I love his work. But it's like I'm more inspired by like the person behind the art. I have not done a deep dive on Dolly, so if he's a controversial person, I don't know about it. Like, I'm sorry.
No, good. Yeah, I want to sort of steer it back to something that kind of puts the focus back on your work and the characters that you create. And you know, do you give them any kind of backstory or anything like that? Is there any, you know, when you're creating a character, how are you forming it?
Yeah, normally I do. I will list like their interests and, you know, their age and where they're from and, you know, things like that. Depending. If it's something a bit more surreal, it'll be more of kind of like with my Crown series, for instance, I was just designing the heads. That was more of a keyword type of thing, which you can see on the titles of each avatar. That, you know, the idea behind those, and some of my other work as well, is kind of like personifying being online. And so I wanted to focus on positive aspects of, you know, being on the internet. And yeah, so for that, it was more of like this keyword kind of like honing in on this particular emotion. I think I made this one like after the election here. I don't know. Is that what the description says? I'm
it says like hopeful and after feeling the election results.
So this was like actually one of my first NFTs. This one and Whimsical were you know, a few of my first. And then like so I really wanted to focus on these ideas of just these positive emotions that an avatar might represent, right? So that was the idea for that series. So I just focused on that, and I wanted to focus on these abstract forms, the crowns, to portray these different emotions as well, and portray the characters themselves too. So that was a little bit more abstract. I had so much fun, and I will probably be releasing at least one or two more of those this year. Not sure when I'll do a close on the series or if I'll keep it going at this point. But definitely had so much fun doing that because it really allowed me to kind of take away those constraints of like, okay, like time, place, age, interests, and more focus on this emotional aspect of these characters and portraying different types of people around the world. That was also a big part of the idea behind this too.
Yeah, that's really cool. You also had a second kind of series of these that were exhibited around different cities around the world, and that's with Portia and
yeah.
Do you want to speak about this as well? So, this was just one of those pieces, I think.
So this
Sublime, yeah.
Yeah, I titled it Sublime, and it was for this one. It was like almost like this feeling of this like meditative feeling that you get when you feel just connected with like everyone and everything, and that was really such a representation of just being an avatar on the internet in general and being accessible by so many different places and people. So and this got shown in a bunch of different countries, around the world. It was very exciting to see it in Times Square.
That's great. Right. So you could just head out and go and see it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I particularly like, did you do the mouth animation kind of motion captured, or did you do that by hand?
This was by hand.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
I just love the subtlety to it. You know, the like you were saying, it's that's really that's something that kind of draws me in. So
yeah, definitely would not do mocap for something this subtle. More problems than needed. But I wanted to keep it subtle because I mean, it was going to be on these billboards, and I think first of all they do have like motion limitations as far as like frightening people because something's too fast. But
for sure, yeah.
I think that the subtlety it just, I didn't want to take away from the piece with the motion. I wanted to add to it, you know.
Yeah. And I understand. And that was back in October, right? Last year.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it was around October. I don't know the exact date. Everything like is blurry together, but
I guess it's been a busy year, past year. So one more thing, like I think I don't know if you spoken to it a bit, but like, how do you relate to the characters that you're creating? That was kind of my last point on there.
Yeah, how do I relate to them? That is a good question. I guess, I mean, I feel like all the characters are like a piece of myself in a way. Like I'm coming up with them, so like I try my best to put myself in their shoes, and sometimes quite literally with mocap.
Yeah.
And just take on what I think this character's like experiences might be, in order to portray them accurately, but I would say that most of my characters though aren't too far from myself, because I enjoy as an artist, making work that typically has either an emotional aspect or a fun, like silly aspect. So I think you're going to see like those types of things in my work. I probably wouldn't make like a robot. Like I'm not really interested in, a character that, is portrayed in that way. But yeah, so I think there's like some limitations of like what I'll do because it doesn't interest me.
Yeah, for sure. You talked about the card that you created for the crypto edition briefly, and we didn't show it, and so we can just take a look at that now. And I just wanted to just touch on this as well. Like, how did you first become aware of playing arts, and how did this all kick off for you?
I think you guys emailed me, like, and that's when I first heard of it.
So it was out of the blue.
Yeah, really out of the blue, definitely out of the blue. And I saw some of my friends were doing it, Renderfood and Josh Pierce and a few other people. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. And I was like, I'm down, and I like the prompt for this too, because I thought it was something that I would be able to have a bit more fun with, and not have to get like too lost in a complex concept, plus I love, like, again, I collect Pokemon cards. I like cards in general. The idea of having my work on a card seemed really cool. And yeah, I thought it was really fun. So
yeah, that makes sense totally. When you were kind of conceptualizing this work, did you start with the same kind of process, sketching it out, or did you have a clear idea and just get the mocap suit on and, I don't know?
I think I did sketch it out. I can't remember. If I didn't sketch it, I definitely acted it out to several friends. And I was like, what do you think of this? I'm gonna like do this thing and like have this like cool, like it's gonna be like a pier, and then I'm gonna, do this. Like, it reminded me of almost like a mage or something like that, like kind of like just like having this like these clubs appear and like kind of like magical almost, which also cards, magic, it all goes together. And I love that idea. Again, acted it out to a few friends, and they thought it was cool, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. Threw on the suit. Thankfully the cleanup didn't take me long, and I really got to play around with the texturing on this. It was really cool. I don't remember like what the projection was exactly, but I set it to this projection that like the textures like moving with the character, and I really like that. It added more motion. So yeah, just overall very, very fun.
Do you want to just talk about the background that's there as well? I don't know if you can see that on screen, but there's they've got these kind of abstract forms.
Yeah, I think the whole idea behind the card was kind of like leaving this like kind of like sullied like world behind. You can see like everything in the background's kind of tangled and confusing, and then moving forward into a world utilizing crypto, because that's what this was about, where there's more opportunity, and you're able to have more control over your future.
Yeah, nice. Like it. You said as well that there were some of your friends obviously taking part in this and kind of being part of the deck. When you saw their cards, what did what did you think? And are there any other cards in there that you made you kind of like go wow, or what's, have you got any favorites?
Geez, I'd have to go back because I don't remember like the numbers or anything. I mean, I love Josh's card. So
Oh
beautiful.
yeah,
Like
I do
that
too.
outdoor like greenery. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it's a great
I
card.
think his is probably my favorite.
Oh, we'll central that. So that's, I love it too. There's so many lovely details. Uh, very subtle details as well. Like the kind of particles and stuff coming off the eight, and the nice little ripples in the water and stuff. I think it's pretty nice and atmospheric as well. So yeah, definitely a favorite in my book too. So we'll try and talk to Josh at some stage. But yeah, we're sort of talking. We're moving into kind of NFTs and things like that. And what got you into NFT art initially?
Um, Actually, I was asked to go on Foundation when NFTs like before they like kind of blew up. So I was
Oh,
on their
nice.
platform um, when they were still transacting in DAI, like very early on.
Wow. When was that?
I think it was December of 2020.
Yeah.
I think, if I
So
remember correctly.
it really started to shift gears after that, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, they changed what they were doing so quickly. Like they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do ETH now," and I was like, "I think that's a good idea." I mean, I don't know. They helped me set up my MetaMask. Like I really, I had no idea what anything was. Like I was just
Oh, so you
like,
got
"Yeah, this
onboarded
sounds cool."
properly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they were great. Really helped me figure that out as they were figuring it out too. And yeah, and then things just kind of took off from there, and I got involved in a bunch of different stuff.
Mm. Yeah. The Yeah, and you have a fair amount there, and a on Foundation, and a huge following too. Um, do you have a favorite piece on here that you've minted?
Um, a favorite piece. I don't know. That's hard. Maybe some of the like more recent ones. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I love all of them like together, honestly.
Okay.
Like that's
You
so
see them
hard for
as
me
a
to
collection,
answer.
like a body of, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that was my whole idea with like putting these particular pieces together. I just felt
Mm.
that they went together. So yeah. But I mean, the Crown series, I can't pick one because I like all of them so much. And I have a couple on different platforms, but mainly on Foundation. And I just really, really, really love that. You guys can't see it, but I have powerful printed right above me hanging
I
up.
love Powerful. I think that's awesome. This one. Um,
Yeah.
I just love the lighting's great. The whole kind of pose. Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my friend Ix Shells kind of helped me come up with like a background for this character. We were focusing on like Caribbean aesthetic. She sent me some reference images. I looked some references up, and it was just so cool to make this particular character. But yeah, I think I love all of them though. Like I really do.
That's awesome. Uh, we could probably talk about Super Rare too now, since got a couple of pieces up on there as well, and I guess another continuation in this Crown series as well.
Yes. That one is animated. I showed it in LA. Still looking for a collector if anyone's interested. And yeah, this was also awesome to do. Again, you'll see like the subtle animation in this one. So yeah, this one's also I love it. So beautiful. Doing the eyeshadow was super cool too, like the golden eyeshadow and everything.
Yeah, because this is you mentioned the texturing process. You're kind of doing like, digital makeup as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I guess there's one more piece here as well. You can talk through.
Yeah, this was made during the pandemic when it first started on Twitch. And it was when I think everyone was first going through that initial wave of panic. Just kind of like, what is this? Like, how long is this going to last? Um, like just really freaking out. And I just thought of this room with all this greenery in it. I was in New York City. I couldn't go outside. We didn't have masks. We didn't have vaccines. It was extremely contagious here, terrifying. And so, I was basically stuck in my apartment. It was terrible. It was really, really terrible. So I drew from that inspiration within myself of like, well, what do I want right now? Like, I wish I could just fill my room with like greenery and like nature because I can't get out of here, So that's why I named it Escapism Room.
Yeah. Wow. I wanted to check. I wanted to ask if because there's I don't know. How do you feel about the different platforms that you're on, and are you putting certain work on Foundation still, or is Super Rare your primary focus now, or is there anything else in the pipeline that you're starting to move your focus onto?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I have like any primary focus. I'll continue releasing work on whatever platform I think makes the most sense. I think, like with Foundation, I do have a specific curation on there. Super Rare, I'm starting to create a specific curation on there as well. And then the crown pieces kind of being like cross-platform. And I want to also like make my own contract for some works too.
Yes.
So
have you been looking into Manifold for this, or
yeah.
Okay.
I've been talking to them, and I do have something that will be coming out in the next few months. Hopefully in the beginning of March or mid-March. That will be on Manifold, and I'm going to have a physical with it that I'm developing right now. Don't want to give out too many details, but that's being planned. And then I have another piece, another still that I've been working on as well, that I am thinking about likely releasing on Foundation. But I plan on continuing with all these platforms. I think, I'm not really tied to one. I don't think anyone should be, honestly. I think it's good for the artist to choose what makes the most sense for their work.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's exciting news that you're going to be doing your own contract and own tokens, things like that. So it's something I'm looking into too. It's an exciting thing, and it's amazing that it's all now open to all,
Yes.
and yeah, they're doing a great job over there, I think. So yeah, I saw on Foundation that there's a couple of splits, which sort of leads me to believe that you kind of collaborate. And I know that you've done a collaboration with Blake Catherine in the past, and so I mean, how important are collaborations to you?
I love collaborating with people. I've kind of made myself reel it back in because I feel like I was like doing too many collaborations. But I've made, some of my favorite work with other people. I love working with other people, but I do think you lose a little bit of your own identity, of course, when you're working with someone else. So for now, I've decided that I'm going to focus on making work on my own. I do have some, I think last year I collaborated with my partner Plant Daddy the most. And we have something else coming out in the beginning of March, which will be a collectible. Can't say too much about it, but it's going to have a really cool utility that we're excited about. And, that's something that we spent a lot of time doing towards the end of last year. So that is a collaboration I have been doing, worked with her a lot. I have a collaboration on Foundation with Inez Alpha as well, also looking for a home. Something that was just a really important piece for both of us. And I think we both feel like it just came out so beautifully, and was just something that I think touched a lot of people. So that's another collaboration that I did. I collaborated with Blunt Action. We sold something on their foundation last year before splits. So you will not see that one on my profile, but we did that as well. And I have another, we sold that one. And then I have another piece with Plant Daddy on her super rare that you will not see, but I think that's probably one of my favorite pieces from last year.
Okay.
Yes.
I in doing a bit of research, I did have a quick look at Plant Daddy's work, and it's really cool. So yeah, I'd recommend everyone go and sort of check out as well. That's really interesting to hear about, these collaborations and things. And I wanted to just come back to a piece that actually was something that we were talking about before the show, in your how the internet changed my life. We have something that we can show here, and let me just scroll so I can navigate. This is like an exhibition that you've been putting on that has a kind of VR element to it. Do you want to just, is there any particular screenshot that you want me to jump onto, and you can just talk through the whole lot, really?
Are you able to click through them?
Yeah,
the screenshots. Sure. Yeah, I think just doing that. So this project I had been working on since I think 2018. Okay. 2018, maybe 2017, the end of 2017. No, I think it was 2018. And basically, I wanted to focus on other people who have formed their identities primarily through the internet. So I chose 6 people who live in different locations to retell their stories about the internet. So I went to their places and photographed them in the room that they primarily use the internet the most, like aside from using your phone everywhere. And I composited in these portraits a figure that represents the internet to each of these people. So the figure changes in appearance while generally keeping some of the same features. So that was the portrait part. And then me and my collaborators, the Glad Scientist and Dylan Banks, worked on a VR portion of this, and as well as an AR filter and a Web 2.0 website.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Or I guess it's Web 1.0. Yes. It's like, when back in the day when we had like guest books and like GeoCities and stuff.
Right.
So the VR experience, there's 6 people that were covered in this project. The VR experience goes through 4 of them. Then we have the AR filter and the website. So there's 4 different worlds in the VR, and then we have that is Molly's portrait with the website, which follows her story.
Oh,
You
cool.
know, the AR filter follows a different person, and then there's 4 different people's stories in the VR. So if you want to show the VR video, I can kind of go through that a little bit too.
Yeah, happy to. Oh, there is sound on this, but it's not going to come through. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
So that was like the start world, and then you can choose to go into any of the 4. And each of these little worlds has a different theme, essentially, that follows each person's story. So I'm not going to go into each of the stories because they're you know, each their own thing, and everyone can kind of I mean, I would love people to come see this in person in New York in May. And I will be going through more and more of it online as well as we get ready to sell these NFTs, which we will be doing in May as well. And we will have another show likely in Portugal in July, I think.
Wow. Taking it over the across the world. There's some so obviously you've been developing this for years. When did it really start to kind of really take shape and kind of, you know, become what it is now, what we're seeing?
Well, geez. So we started developing the VR portion of this on the Magic Leap, and then the Magic Leap died, and then we had to remake it onto the Oculus. So that was like a whole, like, we basically had to make it twice. And thankfully, my collaborator, the Glad Scientist, you know, gladly did this. It was exhausting for both of us. But we really wanted to use hand tracking because the whole conceptual idea behind this was, you know, being immersed in this digital experience. And I think that you're much more immersed with your hands when you're using your hands to interact in VR than you are when you use a controller. It's much more natural. I had a woman, because we showed this in Basel during Art Basel over the summer or whatever month that was, September? I don't remember. God, yeah. I really am so bad with time. Like we had this woman do the experience, and after that she was like, that was awesome, blah, blah, blah. Like, she went through the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, you seem to like figure it out really well. She was like, yeah, that was my first time doing VR. And I was like, what? Like, no way. She was like, yeah, it was so cool. And I was like, wow, because I've shown VR stuff before with controllers, and people, they'll just stand there and just not move because they're just like, you know, and then
maybe they're feeling self-conscious, and, you know, there is the whole kind of like, you know, maybe they're not fully immersed, or I don't know, there's
right. It's very awkward. It can be clunky. But like, I think what really helps is, like, with this, you're using your hands to like pick things up. So it's much more natural. You don't feel so like confused with like having to push all these buttons and like, oh, there's like 10 buttons on here. What do I press?
Exactly.
You know, you just kind of like do what naturally comes to you. So this started to come together, I guess, in 2021. Earlier in the year is when we finally started like being able to like go in the headset and like really be able to go through things and not just like pieces. Just so rewarding too. So rewarding to experience your work too, like fully immersed like that, and be able to like share that with other people.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this feels amazing. Like, if you bring it to the UK, I'm going to come and check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. What do you know, is there any kind of what are you hoping people generally take away from experiencing this?
I think my main point with this project was I wanted to represent a way to share different people's experiences online that, someone who has a more, cursory interaction with the internet might not think about. I think for a lot of people, it's like, okay, I have my little Instagram and I have, my small following of my close friends or I have my Facebook, or I have, my Twitter account where I follow these like celebs. And that's kind of like how they use the internet. And it's more based on people who they probably interact with IRL and then like connect with online for the most part. Mm-hmm. Which I think is how most people use the internet. Not to belittle anything. I know, like I was saying, like little Instagram or whatever. Honestly, sometimes I wish I had a smaller Instagram. Like it's a huge responsibility to have such a big following too. Right. So I wanted to show kind of people who are more immersed in the internet, are more immersed in experiencing this life where you are having to deal with, many people potentially reaching out to you from different places and having to kind of like filter all that information, and interact with that and enjoy that too, and use that to form their own identities as well. I think it's really interesting, and I wanted to show more kind of like a positive take on this as well, because I think we do see a lot of negative takes on the internet, but I think it's important to kind of just look at things without, not even positively, but just without any kind of judgment, just to get an idea of, okay, like these are people's experiences. This is, what's going on. These are, even with the VR, this is a new technology that I've never tried before, that also is connected online, that immerses me in this digital culture even further, and kind of just give people a glimpse of that reality that they might not know about.
Yeah, I can tell this is a real passionate topic for you.
Yeah.
What's, if you're going to choose one, AR or VR, where do you think things are going next?
Yeah.
Where do you think it's
definitely AR more so than VR. That's kind of why I wanted to use the Magic Leap. But we are really just not there. There's a reason the company kind of like, threw in the towel, or, I guess they're doing more business ventures right now, but it's not really accessible enough for consumers at this point. So, but
when it gets there though,
undoubtedly like where everything is going, because and VR will definitely be an option too, because people will still want to be fully immersed in a digital experience. However, most people, as we're talking about, are not going to want to do that. They are going to want to see, the walls of their room as they're doing this thing. They're going to want to be able to like walk around. There's less motion sickness with that. And it's a great way for ads, which are
exactly,
drive a lot of these things, unfortunately. Right. But in VR it's a bit harder to implement that stuff, and it's a lot more immersive. I think it has its applications, but I don't think it's going to be like the main thing. I definitely think I think eventually we're all going to have some sort of glasses or something on, going throughout our days. Like, I don't think there's any way around that.
Well, yeah, probably instead of like glancing at the phone, it will just be a kind of like tap and see what's the new message, and then it'll be some interface in front of you that you can then kind of interact with, and then back to normal kind of thing. So, yeah, I kind of tend to agree. It's I'm not, but like I don't know how far away we are from that, but I mean, who knows?
Like
I mean,
15 years before like it's like widespread. That's like my best guess. That's before like we get the chips implanted or whatever is going to happen. Very controversial. Is that going to happen? I don't know. That's really far in the future, but
right.
Yeah. Weird stuff.
No, getting real sci-fi on this. But yeah, who knows? I mean, it's quite interesting looking into the future and kind of imagining anyway. So with that in mind, like what excites you most for AR and its future applications?
I think for me, just being more like being able to again like get out of my desk area and like move around is just I need it. I'm gonna become crippled if I don't have that. I really am not a huge fan of like sitting down all day. So I think for me, what's most exciting is being able to use the tools that I use in real space. So whether it's AR, VR, I don't care. I like both. But I'm really looking forward to that for sure.
Do you see yourself? I mean, I don't know. Have you been in any of these kind of metaverses that are already out there? And do you see yourself kind of spending time there, or even taking your, how the internet changed my life? I don't know if you could take that to the metaverse. Would you do that? Would you kind of make it, give it that kind of global accessibility? How do you think that would change the experience overall if it's kind of purely, digital as opposed to coming into a space physically and experiencing it?
I mean, I think that would be awesome. I think, I would probably want to do like another. I mean, I would have to like redevelop everything for the web. My idea behind this was that, most people are not going to have the equipment to run this. I mean, right now, I could send whoever the file to put it on their Oculus and they can do that. Right. Like, it's, it's accessible, but it's like, how many people have an Oculus? WebVR is a whole nother like thing that, I mean, it's getting much better with pixel streaming, which is really cool. But I think I would want to redevelop like the other pieces of it because like it'd be like a whole experience. Like I would want it to be like walking inside of the gallery like you would with all of the portraits first, and then you would go into the VR. So, I mean, that would be cool. I would need funding for that, Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how well these sales go for it. And I think that will definitely determine like if I take it a step further or do part 2, which is probably more likely doing a part 2 to it. Continuing some of the concepts. I think that's very, very likely. Will I remake this particular version of it into WebVR? I don't know about that. I'd love to be able to sell the actual like VR work to someone eventually, even if it's like a pre-sale, selling it, and then like once you're able to do that on the blockchain, like selling it to them, something like that would be so cool. But as of right now, I'm not thinking about WebVR for this project. at the moment. We've put in so many years of work into it, with the concept. To revisit it like that would be, a lot more time and energy and effort. And
No, for sure. No, I think it's like I think really, you want to sort of let this sort of run its course and kind of have the, like you say, kind of get people to experience it and
yes,
this seems like going back to the kind of images and stuff, like the way, I love what you were saying there about, you go in first, you see the images that's up on the wall, then you get into the VR, and then you can kind of have a chance to experience all the other sort of elements to it, and kind of come away with a kind of rounded, to say the word again, experience. But that feels like you've gone in and something's changed you. So it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? It's
like you're saying, like going through like the physical experience, and then
yes,
exactly, like that's all part of the concept. Like I want people to experience the physical and then experience the digital. Like it's like part of using the internet too. That was the whole idea behind this in particular. I know collectors are more hyped about like web VR. A lot of people ask me like, are you going to do web VR with this? And right now I don't have plans for that. I don't think it devalues the work at all. We are going to be continuing to show this. We've already showed it twice at like 2 big galleries. We're showing it again, another 2 times this year. That's like planned so far. And, if someone collects this, they're going to have a piece of my earlier work, so that when I do web VR, like that's going to add even more value to it, but the web VR will be coming. I will be doing that, eventually. I'm so excited about, that whole idea. And that goes back to like, even doing like live action mocap and stuff like that. Just, I don't know. I won't get into all those ideas.
No,
but,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. It's like what we've learned so far about, your work and how much time and effort you pour into it. This is years in the making. So if anyone does get a chance of experiencing this, then, definitely go and check it out. And I think, I've come to the end of my questions, so I'm like happy to wrap this one up with you. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Nicole. It's just, like I get so much out of this for myself personally. It's like I get to chat to amazing artists like yourself. And is there anything else you want to add to, anything you want to say like before we get out of here?
Not really. Just thank you, Andy. Thanks for the conversation. It was good.
I appreciate it. I really do. Okay. Anyone who's listening live, we can reveal the exclusive POAP for this episode, and we'll be distributing those in the same way that we normally do. So, I guess coming back to here just to say, again, I always say I want to thank everyone who in our community who supports the Playing Arts Project, and just means a lot to us. And Nicole, thanks so much for joining me. And we'll see you in another episode of the Playing Arts Podcast. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.